to a special edition of the Darden Admissions podcast. I'm your host, Brett Twitty, and you are listening to a new episode. On this episode of the podcast, I'm excited to share a recording of a recent conversation I hosted featuring Raj Venkatesan. Raj is a member of the Darden faculty and teaches in the marketing area, and he is also one of the co-academic leaders for the MS in Business Analytics program, or MSBA program, here at the University of Virginia. You may know that this program is a partnership between the University of Virginia Darden School of Business, as well as the McIntire School of Commerce here at UVA. And we caught up with Raj to talk more about his background, what attracted him to the academic leadership role for MSBA, how things have gone this year, and so much more. I think you're really going to enjoy this conversation. So without further ado, here is my interview with Raj Venkatesan. Raj, great to see you. How's everything?
Great to see you, Brett. Everything is good. Nice and good weather here, and excited to meet our prospective students and excited for this webinar.
All right. And for those of you, if you have questions as we go along, as I mentioned, I've prepared some questions, things to talk through, but we're also interested in hearing from you. So if you want to share your questions, the best way to do that is via the Q&A. If you're wondering where the Q&A function is in Zoom, if you look along the menu, you'll see a button that says Q&A. Open that up, type your question. I'll keep an eye on the Q&A as we go along. But to start things off, Raj, maybe tell us a little bit more about who you are and your background.
So, Brett, you gave me a kind introduction there. I'm Raj Venkatesan. I teach marketing at Darden School of Business at the University of Virginia. This is my, believe it or not, 17th year. So I've been here for a while. My specialty is in digital marketing and digital transformation and analytics. I actually did my undergrad in computer engineering. And around that time, this thing called neural networks and genetic algorithms were this theoretical concept that I learned. I did a project, a capstone project in that, and didn't think it would go anywhere. And said, I'll do marketing because I took an econ class and I felt I loved it. So I said, okay, let me try my hand at this. Little did I know that my worlds will collide. And now what we call as AI and machine learning is all deep learning, which is a variation of neural networks. And the new thing is genetic algorithms, which is what I wrote. Like a few of my early papers in marketing was using genetic algorithms for predicting customer lifetime value, which is, again, a big metric that digital firms use when they're evaluating the subscription models that they have. So it's been quite a ride. I love doing my research, writing case studies. I teach marketing analytics and digital marketing here, and do a lot of consulting work in the same space. Advise medium to big enterprises on their analytics projects and digital transformation projects. And for the last year, I have been the co-director of this really innovative program that we have, which is collaboration with McIntire and Darden School with the Masters in Business Analytics program.
Thank you, Raj, and you shared a lot there. And for our attendees today, we're going to come back to some of the things that Raj just mentioned. But before we do, I want to talk a little bit more about what attracted you to the role that you have with the MSBA program now. So you're a marketing faculty member. You decided to take on this leadership role. Why?
Yeah. So sometimes I ask that question myself. Why? But, I think I like new things. I like different things. That's what I have done all my time here at Darden. And I like collaborating with outside of Darden and really trying out new things. And I feel like the MSBA checks all the boxes. It's a new program for Darden and the McIntire School. It's a one-year degree program, which at least the Darden School has never done before. And it's a really technology-focused, future-focused program, which really, I think, fits with my expertise as well. I've always focused on digital and analytics in my research, in my case writing, and in my teaching and consulting. So this really fitted with that as well. So it's a new program where you can experiment a lot. It's something that I think we learn a lot in the whole enterprise from it's the tip of the spear for what's happening out there and how the higher ed and the business education community is actually changing. And for us, MSBA can be that place where you learn a lot, and also keep updating yourself. So for all of these reasons, this seemed like a perfect place for me to, contribute and be of use for the organization. And I meet a lot of new students that are very different, and that has been the biggest actually uh, joy for me with this program has been working with the students who are really very, they've thought a lot about doing this program, and they're really smart students, and they come with different experiences. So, working with them has been a real pleasure for me.
Yeah, I appreciate your mentioning the students. It's an interesting time for our program. We're recruiting the sixth cohort of students for this program right now. For folks who are on this call, you may be wondering, are we still accepting applications? The answer is yes. We just passed our last deadline, but if you've been looking at our website, you know that we will continue to accept applications until the MSBA cohort fills, which is pretty typical for the MSBA class to kind of come together in June and July, right before the start of school. So, Raj, I know this year has been a very full year for you as you've moved into this role. Any highlights, anything that jump out from this past year?
Sure, yeah. So this has been a lot of learning for me with this program. I've learned a lot. We've done some changes in the structure to make it more suitable for students. We've kind of streamlined the courses a bit, give them more focus on coding and data analysis and data science and analytics, and bring in the focus into new developments like generative AI and other new low-code environments and such. And we've started this immersion program in which I'm going to go there next week to New York City with a group of 20 students, where we meet different companies and really through this experience understand how companies are using analytics. And so that was a new thing we definitely started this year, and it's a highlight of that. And another one that we did this year was we started a peer tutoring program. Our strength is that we bring students from different backgrounds, but that also means that some students are new to coding, and some students may be new to, communications and presentations and such. So the peer tutoring program is volunteers from the current cohort who raise their hands to help their peers, maybe in coding, maybe in presentation skills. And so really helping each other out. And it's been wonderful to see that develop.
Yeah, I appreciate your mentioning the technical piece, but also the communications piece. I think that's one of the things that we consistently hear from students and student panels, or just when you see them around the residency. It's not just R and Python and all these things. It's then extracting insights from the data and socializing those insights and communicating them to different stakeholders.
Absolutely. And that's, I think, is a strength too, because I feel like I've always believed it. And this is true from time immemorial. I gave this example in my class on linear regression, which is a analytics tool, and it was discovered in the 1800s, and to predict the location of asteroids. Nerding out a bit, but there is a story. There's some point here around communication. So there is a debate around who invented it, because there was somebody who did it in 1790 and another person who did it in 1800. And there was a question about who really invented it. But the one person who became popular and who got credited and who was actually effective in people using it was the person who actually wrote down a step-by-step method for doing this method. So even in the 1800s, it was really important not just to find and do the analytics, but also communicate. So that's true even today.
Well, let's talk about some of the initiatives you mentioned as you were talking about this past year. I want to start with the immersion trip to New York City. So I think this was in response to kind of popular demand. I think students were asking for this kind of trip. And so talk to us a little bit more, not just about the inspiration, but what you'll actually be doing during the week, some of the companies you'll be visiting, for example.
Sure. Yeah, happy to. So this is another example of how responsive we are to the student input. right? Because the students started, there was no immersion program in this before in the first 5 years, in the first 4 years, and because we did this in the 5th year. And the students, we do this in other programs. We do this in executive MBA, in the part-time, and in our residential, and in the MS in Commerce. And so the students really, asked us, why don't we do it? We thought, okay, we didn't have the space because it was a 1-year program. That was primarily why. And then we say, okay, we went back and said, is there really space? And we found the space next week, actually, where we could do this, because we find there's a lot of value from being in the ground to learn from practitioners on how the theory and the projects that we do in the class really gets translated into real world experiences, and also across wide industries, how this happens. So in terms of the companies we'll be visiting, we're visiting a wide variety of industries: banking, luxury goods, advertising, technology. The sampling would be Bloomberg, American Express, LVMH, an ad agency, LinkedIn. Those are some examples of companies we're visiting. I'm sure there are a few more that are skipping my mind here.
Yeah, that's great. And I know just from talking with executive MBA students, when they go on a global residency, or full-time students, when they go on a Darden Worldwide course, they have the opportunity really to immerse in the location. It's a real transformative experience, not just because of the companies you're visiting and what you're seeing, and the people you're meeting, but also the shared esprit de corps that comes with having that experience with 20 other students.
Yeah, absolutely. And the innovation for the upcoming year is that we will have a global residency option as well. So students can take the option of either going to somewhere in the world. I mean, the candidates could be Israel, Tel Aviv, or Sweden, or Ireland, or Germany, or Cambridge, because those are like hubs where we feel technology and analytics are growing outside of the US. Or you can go to New York or San Francisco. In fact, the way we choose these is we gave the students an option of 5 cities. And basically based on their input, the majority, so it's a really co-created process.
I appreciate that. Well, let's talk about the peer tutoring program. As you mentioned, we have lots of students from lots of different academic backgrounds. Many of our students actually do not have prior exposure or prior experience with some of the tools, or many of the tools they'll encounter in the program. So how did the peer tutoring program come about, and how have the students gotten involved with it?
Yeah. So the peer tutoring started because in the first module, when you're just starting, I call it if you come to this program, you'll be sick of me saying that it's like learning to swim, right? In module 1, you're standing outside the pool, looking at the instructor swimming and tipping your toes in the water and saying, it's too cold. I don't want to jump in the water, right? And that's kind of how you are when you're in this program in the first module, as you're seeing all these new concepts and, oh my God, I need to now learn Python and R and SPSS or all these things. How am I going to do this? And of course, the faculty are available to you all the time if you have any questions. But there is this gap, right? There is this distance. Somehow students feel that for every little doubt they have or question they have, they don't want to go bug the faculty. I understand that you can do that, but I understand that some students feel that hesitation. And also there is actually a lot of academic research in education that shows that people learn from each other more. And sometimes the peers are able to explain in a way that you can understand better, because you're speaking kind of your language. And that's why we use the case method, in fact, is because it's a way to get peers to discuss and collaborate and learn from each other. So the peer tutoring is a version of that. And it has been great. Students I've been talking to about it have always said they really appreciate their peer tutors. And it's very informal. It's not like there's a certain time when you have to go approach them. It's these folks have really have really volunteered, and they believe in the program and are giving their time to their fellow peers. And we appreciate their contributions. And what they've done to make this program a better place. And it also creates a strong community when you learn from each other, not just in the classroom, but outside as well.
Yeah, I think that's one of the hallmarks of the MSBA program from its inception is this sense of community. I think sometimes when people look at 12-month specialized masters, they think it's been much more transactional. But this has been a program that's always had a strong sense of community.
And that's also because we've maintained the in-person residencies of 10 residencies, five modules and 2 residencies per module, which is really critical for these networks and the building of the community, not just I find within a cohort, but even across cohorts. So we have a strong alumni network, and honestly, the New York program we were able to put up because our alumni were like so happy to host us. And that's how we are able to do these, is because you created this community. And if you're online only, it's great. It's a different platform of learning. If that works for you, that's great. But it really is challenging to form cohorts that are really, coming together in a way that is, there are interactions among students outside the class, during the breaks, or like we have the Saturday and Sunday residencies. Sometimes people come on Friday before the Saturday residency, or like Saturday nights, we have a happy hour or reception, or people go out for dinner because they're all in there at the same hotel and the same space. And so that really creates this connection that lasts a lifetime.
Yeah, it's interesting. The program is a third in person, 2/3 online. But to your point, there's consistent in-person engagement with the program. And also you see each other online for your live online classes a couple nights per week too. So there's sort of layering that happens here. So we're currently in the 5th and final module of the program. It's an exciting time. Everything's been kind of building to this module, and students do capstone projects in this final module, the fifth module. So tell us a little bit about some of the capstone projects. I know there's quite a few, but any jump out to you?
The capstones are a wonderful experience. I mean, I really like working with students on projects. Before I talk about the Mod 5 capstone, I want to emphasize that we have projects that are mini capstones in each module. So this is the 5th project they're doing, and all 5 projects are real life projects, right? So you have so there is a lot of application, and that's what gives us the flexibility as well in terms of being able to apply what you learn from the classes to a real problem and work as a team. So it brings in all of the communication, teamwork, and application things. And you do this throughout the year. This is the 5th time they're doing. And the difference between this module capstone and the previous ones, it's a single project that we design. We have collaborations with Hilton, with the University of Virginia, and other enterprises where we design a project that is based on something that the company is facing. And all the students, 12 to 13 teams, work on the same project. The capstone is a little different, where you can explore different specialties beyond the ones that the school prescribes. So there is a project on predicting housing pricing, predicting demand for a B2B chemicals company, increasing the participation rates for a nonprofit, and developing the donor lifetime value. There's a project on running a big product design study and pricing study for a new technology, predicting fraud, understanding sentiments based on user-generated content for a consumer brand. So you can see there's a wide variety of projects, and people choose different projects based on their interests. And then they explore, and we help them find companies, or they find companies within their networks to really, the capstone in the 5th module is where it's a 3-credit course. So it's double the number of credits than the previous capstones. And it's a culmination of all their learnings that they've had in this MSBA.
Yeah, I was going to ask how you felt like, of course, it is application-based curriculum. There's projects at the conclusion of each of the modules, as mentioned. But how do you feel like the capstone really fits into the curriculum design? It's been a piece of this MSBA program from its inception.
Yeah. So what we do with the projects in each module is they are the final. There's no written final exam because, in a master's professional degree program, it doesn't make sense to have sit in a classroom and take an exam. There are projects, and even the classwork is based on homeworks and assignments. So it's very application oriented. What we do in each module is there is one project, and the grade in that project contributes towards partially to the grades in all the courses in that module. So the faculty are also coordinating. So it's a project that is designed by all courses in that module. So it's really an integration of the topics you're learning. So we're not saying you learn communications here, you learn coding here, and you learn marketing there. In real life, all three come together. And we use the capstone as the way to make it all come together. So all faculty come together to design it together. And your performance in that project affects your grades in all the classes.
All right. Well, let's talk a little bit about what's going on in the world and how that might be also shaping what you're doing in the program. Because one of the things I had a conversation with Trey Maxim, and I know we've talked as well about, program is constantly evolving, constantly being updated, but it feels like technology, particularly if you look at AI, generative AI, that's changing very quickly. I mean, 3 or 4 months ago, how many people were talking about Chat GPT, GPT-3, 4, et cetera. Now it seems like we're all we talk about. So how is the program staying current, keeping up, evolving?
Sure. So that's the beauty of this program, is that it is, for us, this is the program where we are trying to be as current as possible. So we bring in the big changes in terms of technology into the curriculum first in the MSBA program, right? And we have already talked about generative AI. We have classes on, or actually faculty this year in module 4, there was March or April, use generative AI in his classes in terms of understanding how to use it and how to query it and how to integrate it within your coding process. So the faculty have already started building it into the curriculum. We don't call like one course coding with generative AI because for us, the course is something that withstands the test of time. It's something that is, very fundamental. But the way we approach the course changes. So if you're looking at data science, yes, there is a starter code that we give in Python, but you can have ChatGPT update that code for a new assignment or a new project, right? So our faculty really embrace it to, make their classes better and also help students learn it. And don't forget the projects, because the projects is what gives us flexibility, is where we will start bringing it in ASAP. It's very easy to bring them in, learn from it, and then use that learnings to update our courses.
One of the things I'm really interested in here as I've listened to you talk is what generative AI means for some of the hard coding skills. And it feels like, I mean, one of the conversation threads that's out there is that eventually it's the robots are going to take over the coding. And so what for people, what's left after that? And so What's your reaction to that?
Okay. Yes. I mean, it is great. It's a great technology. Don't get me wrong. When this came out in the marketing area, as you can see, the marketing field is also freaking out because this can write ad copies now. So I got a lot of calls from the marketing media saying, what is going to happen? How's the world going to change? And I explored it a bit. I explored it and I came to the conclusion, which was similar to other experts, basically saying that it can write a B paper, right? It can get you 80% of the way, which is great because now the rest 20% last mile is what matters and what really differentiates people. Right. So if you're high quality, ChatGPT is going to make you even better. And it's going to make you do your work better. The same with programming. I've tried some coding with ChatGPT. It can get me 80% of the way. I've talked to other software development professionals who say the same thing. It gets us 70, 80% of the way. Okay. And then the uniqueness and the innovation that we bring in is still valuable. So the key is to treat it as a fancy calculator. Okay? And try to, nobody said, oh, the calculator is going to stop the accountants now, right? No, the accountants are still there. They've evolved and they've changed. The same way, we are going to be a more productive race. I would take it in a more positive way that this is a technology that's going to make us better. Of course, there are dangers that are genuine around this in terms of how we use it and what we use it for. And those are some ethical and regulatory concerns that as a society, yes, we need to really pay attention to. But in strictly speaking, in terms of analytics for good, it is a good thing, right? We can use it for bad things. And that is something which is also a discussion we encourage in the core curriculum. But that's it's like two sides of the same coin. And as a society, we need to figure out where we fall under and take the good and try to restrict the bad.
So it's interesting to hear some of the sort of last mile, get you 80% of the way there. What do you think all this means for the analytics professionals of the future as you look forward for MSBA graduates?
Yeah. So in one word, I'd say, two words. I'll say judgment matters. What do I mean by that? So the prediction and the analytics are quickly becoming like run-of-the-mill predictions, and analytics are becoming commodities. And you can still, add that extra 20% and get there in terms of making your predictions and your machine learning models. Many people can use GPT to get there. Now, what really matters is how you use those predictions to make decisions in your company. So really, when we began, we talked about how coding and communication and leadership and the soft skills matter as well. So it's really the people who can connect these left and right brain is what are going to be the most valuable resources in the workforce going forward. And it really speaks to also our strengths in our program is because from its conception, we have always been about the T, which is breadth and depth, right? Depth within analytics and breadth in terms of leadership and more liberal arts judgment focus. So I think that combination is going to be very key. And all these new developments actually make our program more relevant than it was before.
One of the things that I think is also been a hallmark of this program is very broad exposure to lots of different tools and techniques, rather than just going deep in a few of them. You get exposed to a lot of things. And at least my understanding is that's kind of the inspiration for that is, well, these tools and techniques are constantly evolving. New things are always being introduced.
Yes, absolutely. And that's why our courses are more fundamental concepts like data science, managing digital disruption, or marketing analytics, enterprise analytics, software development. So it's not based on, okay, learn Python, because then tomorrow you have Alteryx, which is a low-code environment, or you might have ChatGPT come up with. But the base fundamentals of data science still withstand the test of time, and that's what we focus on. And we use the coding and the technology as a means to the end.
And one of the things that was interesting to me as you were talking about sort of the analytics professional of the future is something that I've been really intrigued about as we've talked about ChatGPT and generative AI is there's a choice here, or maybe some thought is worth engaging in around what do humans add and what can robots, the computers really do well, and sort of what makes us uniquely human and in that conversation.
I think what makes us uniquely human, at least now, is that it is our decision on what the robot does, or at least the objective function that we define for the machines is still with the humans. We've still not reached a place where, like in Terminator, where the robot actually can also create its own objective function. right? So I think that's where with robots, I feel like it's gotten better than before. Of course, it's a great technology. But where humans come in, that's why I said judgment matters. It is about the questions, it is about the application, it's about the strategy on what needs to be answered or optimized, right? So I'll share one example. There's this example about where they talk about the problem with machines is that, there's this paperclip problem. This is a philosophy professor who came up with this example, like a hypothetical example. Let's say you have a machine that is really good at doing whatever you set it to do. So you set the objective function as make paper clips. So it's going to optimize making paper clips. It might destroy the whole world, use the whole world's resources and fill it with paper clips. According to the machine, it has done its job. But we know as humans that, okay, we are not going to destroy all the trees and resources in the planet to make more paper clips more efficiently. There's a trade-off, and those are the trade-offs where humans come in, which at least till now, machines are not able to make that trade-off.
I want to talk a little bit about your research interest as well, as something that you mentioned at the outset. And when we were doing our prep call for this conversation, you mentioned you really have kind of three key research projects going on right now around ESG, environmental, social, and governance. So let's talk with your environmental. Let's talk about your environmental project first. So you're working on a project that looks out at how abnormal weather patterns affect a group of people's propensity for climate-related projects. Feels very topical, by the way, right now, everything going on here on the East Coast of the United States. So what was the inspiration for this project?
So the inspiration was really when, if I have to go to my research philosophy, what I started off was, I was a quant person, I was a data junkie. Like I said, I did computer engineering. I was a coder. Right. And I started doing really heavy duty quant models using genetic algorithms, Bayesian Markov chain Monte Carlo methods on predicting customer lifetime value, optimizing lifetime value, Salesforce analytics models, promotion analytics, media attribution models. That was the world I was in. Over time, I had slowly, maybe it's the case method and teaching MBA students for so long made me question, okay, maybe I should do more projects that I find meaningful. Not that these projects are not meaningful. Many companies have done very well with using some of these models. But I wanted to get into topics that I felt were beyond just the firms, where there was an intersection between the firm and the society. That's why I landed on this thing. I call it the ESG. It's not ESG, which is like the common term we use. And but it is, I decided I'm not going to go down, ESG investing as a topic, but I'm going to tackle each pillar, E, S, and G. So in the E part, what I started thinking was, there is, whenever there is this, like now we are having this smoke issue and air quality issue. And then there was come fall, you'll have a few hurricanes come. I wish we don't have, but you and I know, and people on the call know, if you're on the East Coast, on the Atlantic coast, hurricanes are going to happen. Right. And some of these hurricanes, and they get larger. And last year, it was one of those examples where the hurricane just stood there on, like, was it Tampa? Right. Or no, it was Naples. It just stood there. It just is not moving. And so it's not really powerful, but it doesn't move fast. So it dumps a lot of rain. And that is really a function of climate change. And when those things happen is when we start talking about climate change. Right? Or when there is like a heavy, like California is like cold and there's snow and there is rain, and that's a climate event. So these extreme weather events are going to be more common. And those extreme weather events is what makes us really think about climate change. So I wanted to see whether this translates into people's adoption. I'm a marketing professor after all. I want to look at whether people buy green products when these weather events happen. And along this weather event pattern, there was another thing around climate change is that there is a split in the world between people who think climate change is man-made and those who think climate change is not man-made. So what we did was we combined those and saw, do people shift to green products when they see climate like cold or heat wave, abnormal cold or heat wave in their community, and which communities are reacting more? It turns out, yes, people react to these weather events if it happens in their community, not if it happens in someone else's. So if it happens to you, then you feel like, okay, there is some reaction, fine, that's good. But what was really interesting for us was also that this reaction comes from communities where they don't believe climate change is man-made. So it actually is, these climate events are the way in which you actually, it convinces people who may not be yet convinced that there are human effects in climate change to actually start adopting green products in that climate change. So then we are doing some more analysis to see, okay, how can brands, leverage this? And this is where you see it's like both society can gain from us actually adopting it, and also brands can gain from, positioning themselves correctly when these climate events happen. So it's still a work in progress, but I've been really excited to see some of these results and look forward to publishing them.
All right, and I'm going to go, I guess, to the social focus project next. So you're looking at interventions that make minority and women entrepreneurs successful in marketplaces like Amazon, Etsy. What have you learned through this work?
So this is really a new project at this point. So we are just starting to work on it. But the main idea is we are working with the big platform in India, and they have one of their benefits of the online platform has been allowing small businesses in like rural communities, providing them a market for the whole of the country. And so that has been a really great economic development opportunity for very rural small businesses in India. But one of the things the company wanted to see was how they can bring in more artisans and women entrepreneurs to come on board to be able to do this. So they've given some programs like free shipping for the first few months, or free no commissions for their products for the first few months. The challenge they face is some of these artisan products are still really expensive, and it's because they're handmade, but the demand is then low. So we're trying to see how we can match the the quality of the product, but also make it fit with the preferences of the consumers on the platform. So in a way, you're doing so good for the community by helping them lift them up by providing them more opportunities, but at the same time also helping the platform and other consumers get better products.
How do you get interested in a project like that, where you're looking at a platform in India? Does somebody call you? Do you just learn about this platform and say, hey, this might be an interesting research project? So
that's so that's one of the things which is valuable of being a faculty at UVA and at Darden, is there is a community. There are a lot of alums, and I have been, like I said, I was focused on E, S, and G. I have a project in the G part with governance and privacy. So I was looking at like social projects as well. But at the same time, one of our alumni knows the board of this platform, has helped them in his consultancy with them. And these folks wanted to collaborate with academic institutions and put me, because in one of those immersion programs we talked about, I'd become good friends with this alumni. And when this platform was looking for academic collaborations, he played matchmaker and asked us to talk. So we are actually developing 5 different case studies with this platform. And one of our econ colleagues and our marketing colleagues, I'm working with them on this project, and they were looking at social issues as well. So in one of our lunches, I said, yeah, they were talking about what they were doing in their research. And I was like, huh, there is an opportunity here. So I played matchmaker next. And so that's kind of that's the value of community that you don't get when you're online. It's like this kind of relationships and connections. And that's kind of how research happens, how innovation happens, is people from different walks of life coming together. And real innovation happens at that intersection.
Yeah, I'm always just curious about how these things happen, and I want to take a little bit of time also to talk about your G related project. Yeah, governance related into things.
Yeah, that's that's a fun one. That one is more closer, far along. So so I wrote this book on AI and marketing, and called the AI Marketing Canvas, and talked to a lot of CMOs and chief data officers in the process. And one of the things that came out was building of AI capabilities. And, they will either buy technology, new companies, they buy small startups and bring the technology in, or they build it in-house. And that was something we elaborated a lot in my book. But companies are really focused on building AI capability. And at the same time, again, it comes back to immersions, and that's why I feel like how valuable these are. We've always had in these tech immersions, lawyers come and talk to us about privacy, because this was a big topic. And we learned, and through that, I learned a lot about GDPR, which is the European privacy regulation, and CCPA, which is California's privacy regulation. In fact, Virginia launched a privacy regulation a year back as well. And so my mind started working and thinking, okay, what if you put those two together, right? So if AI uses a lot of customer data, and it needs customer data to be accurate, but all of the companies that many tech companies I talked to, and Main Street companies I talked to, were worried about these privacy regulations because it was going to increase their cost and actually make compliance very expensive, and also make their models less accurate. So they were really concerned about these regulations hurting their ability to grow, and they said provide value for their consumers. So what we decided to do was look at, okay, let's see if this is even true. So we looked at public databases on acquisitions of technology by publicly traded companies. There's a database that tells about acquisitions and what the price of the acquisitions was. And then we scrape the web to find out a description of the acquisitions. Companies always put a press release when they do an acquisition. So we scrape the web to see what are the objective of the acquisition. So what we really find in very straightforward way is that, okay, yes, GDPR did reduce the valuation of AI technology companies, and it increased the risk, stock market risk, for companies acquiring technology companies. So it did have an overall problem in terms of performance for these companies. But the silver lining, which is where as a marketer made me feel really good, was if that AI technology is customer centric, that is, it is focused on delivering customers value, then the deal valuations went up and the risk in the stock reduced after privacy regulations. So really what privacy regulations are helping direct firms deliver more value with AI rather than do other things with AI. So it's actually directing firms in a way that is improving customer welfare.
All right. Well, Raj, is it like you don't have enough going on already with the MSBA program and these research projects? You're also involved in planning an generative AI conference at Darden in December. I know it's early. Do you want to talk a little bit more about the early plans for this conference?
Absolutely. Love to. So it all comes together, Brett. It's all in AI. It's all in the same world. That's the value of this, is you need to have synergy in what you do. Right? Business analytics is also relevant to AI. Research is also in AI. and the conference too. So the conference, the idea is that we have all these research projects. I am doing this privacy project, but we have other faculty who are doing projects on human-machine interface, faculty who are doing work on the future of the workplace, and also how the future, the society and labor force will evolve with AI. So we want to definitely highlight our faculty, but the main idea is that we've started an AI initiative within the school. And the idea is that with generative AI and with a lot of these large AI models that are out there, the big question moving forward is how we are going to use them for improving society and not getting, destroyed by it. And the White House has started a White House panel on AI regulation and AI ethics. Europe is going to pass a law very soon on AI regulation. And we thought this really is important for us. And really, the future is going to be about bringing together multiple stakeholders, the technology folks, the digital strategy folks, the regulators and philosophers and citizens to come together. And what we want to do is to create a platform and a conversation for all of this to happen, to be part of this movement towards understanding how we are going to harness all this technology for good. And our location is a really important part of that, right? We have our DC campus. We are in the thick of all of these conversations, and our community extends into all of these. And we are about stakeholders and how bringing together different parties to have a more balanced conversation for a more balanced outlook on society. So this really is consistent with Darden and UVA's mission. It is consistent with where we are in our location and our connections and where we are strong at. And so we wanted to be the convener of important conversations around the future of generative AI and AI in general and society. So this is the first conference. We're planning to do more things in the future, but I'm really excited because we're getting a lot of interest across schools. We are working with the data science school, McIntire, Darden, all coming together and bringing in people from like business, society, and regulators to come together. And we feel like we are really good when we can bring people together to, harness all their minds to focus on a single topic, to come up with a viewpoint on what we need to do next.
Well, excellent. All right. So let's talk about a few last questions. And I see we've got a question here about, preparing for the program. But before we get to that question, I want to ask, just in your opinion, you've touched on a lot of things today. What makes the UVA MSBA program distinctive in your mind?
I would say, community. It's the balance of left and right brain, and it is the ability to ask the right questions and connect better as a business analyst with different parts of the business. So it builds you up to be a leader in the data science field.
And for folks who may be coming into the program or thinking about applying to start the program in August or maybe in a subsequent year, any prep advice, anything that you would recommend for them? I know, as mentioned, many of our students don't have background in some of the things that they're going to see in the program.
Absolutely. So we have a few resources that we have collated where we can definitely share on like coding basics or, math basics, data science basics that will allow you to brush up. I think it's good for everyone. If you are already in this, it may have been a bit rusty. Refresh your minds on this. If you're new to it, be brave, get into it. And I would say spend the time. Yes, we're happy to recommend these resources that we have collated, some internal to Darden, some external, that people have found that really useful to review them before starting the program.
All right, let's see. We got another question about, can you do a Darden MBA and the MSBA as a dual degree? Fortunately, the answer is no, but we have had some people come from an MBA program at Darden into the MSBA program afterwards. Yes. So you complete the 2 degrees in essentially, well, depends on which program, but maybe 3 years, which is pretty awesome.
Yeah, I think that's about, yes. And I think if you did the MSBA, definitely when you apply to the MBA program, we will know you. And that really helps in terms of, presenting yourself to the admissions folks for the residential MBA or the exec MBA. And definitely it has happened the other way around too. Yeah.
Yeah, people sometimes ask us, how is it similar? How is it different than an MBA? And one of the things I always share is that, for example, the most recent class, I think it was 59 students in the current cohort. I think 9 of them had an MBA already. So they're complementary, but they are not duplicative.
Yeah. So I think it's the place where you go in depth in analytics is what would be distinctive in the MSBA from the MBA.
And I see we've gotten some questions, sort of a riff on this technical. How much if you don't have coding experience, can you apply for this program? Raj, I answered this question, but I want to hear your answer to this.
I have seen students with no technical experience come into this program, and by the time they're graduating, they're like coding in their left hand with Python. Okay, so it will happen. It is the projects, it is the class assignments, it is the peer tutors. So there is a process that we have over time. Within over a year, you will layer on the coding skills. So we're not going to ask you to code in Python on day 1. It's not going to happen.
One of the things I also think is interesting is that you're rarely starting from scratch. And I think you mentioned this, but I want to come back to this. Like when you're working with a coding project, you're off on a running start, so to speak. You get some code to build on.
Yes, absolutely. The faculty give some starter code and they walk you through that code to help you understand what each part is. And you take that and make some modifications. That's kind of how you get started. And then you slowly start to build your own different parts of the program. And by the last module, you're running all of it yourself, but you have all that code, starter code already lying with you that you can use. And of course, as I tell my MSBA students even now, use ChatGPT. You need to know what to ask it and to see whether it works. And those are the skills you will gain by then. And ask it to code. There's nothing wrong with it. It's a fancy calculator.
One of the things I sometimes hear from students, maybe who did like a Python boot camp and then they come to the program and they're looking at the program, is that the program makes it a lot easier to learn some of these these tools and techniques because you're learning an application to actually solve business problems. You're doing it in a collaborative way rather than just pure coding. It's in furtherance of a business problem and solution.
Absolutely. It makes it really relevant, and it is important to learn it in context. That's a good point, Brett.
Well, Raj, we covered a lot of ground here. You mentioned your own book, but I wonder also 3 books for people who are on this conversation, just want to learn more about these topics, maybe curious about AI, whatever you might recommend here.
Can I pitch my book again? AI Marketing?
Yeah, you can, definitely.
This is like outside of my book. Hey, gotta be shameless. I'm a marketer. Outside of my book, I would say Prediction Machines is a good book. This is about evolution of markets when there is wide availability of machine learning and AI. Another book I would say is The Ethical Algorithm. This is about, there is privacy regulations, but there is also about how do you develop algorithms that are without bias, that are fair and ethical. And it goes into, it's not just about the math, it's a lot about the different philosophical decisions you need to make when you build an algorithm that is ethical. The final, I would not recommend a book, being a technology-focused program. I would recommend a YouTube series called Making Friends with Machine Learning. The person is, she's part of Google. It's called, she's called, named Casey Kasirgov. And the title is Making Friends with Machine Learning. It's a YouTube series. It's one of the best I have seen in actually explaining it in a very nice way for people to get started.
I have one last question as we wrap up here. It's a little bit inspired by the question that we have here in the Q&A about you're getting exposure to lots of different tools, right? R, SQL, talked about Python, Tableau, et cetera. The list goes on. When you look forward for graduates, people graduate from this program, what do you think that they're prepared to do? Go to a job and take on a new role. How would you describe that to someone?
So the person who I think we graduate, an ideal graduate is somebody, again, I go back to the T. They are able to collaborate. See, the data science process is not just about the coding. It is one aspect of the data science process. It starts with the definition of the problem. It starts with understanding what data is needed and data engineering, and then coding and machine learning, and making inferences, and then recommending plan of action and iterating on this process. For us, the ideal graduate is the one who can work with the business partners to define the problem better, to work with the data science folks and the technology folks to be part of the data engineering, to be a really good coder who can create these awesome machine learning and AI tools, and also know because they were part of the problem definition, also know whether we are actually solving the problem that we set out to do, and making recommendations for businesses that are more relevant and make sense. So our ideal graduate is the one who can complete the data science process and is capable of being part of all aspects of that.
All right, I think that's a perfect place to end. So thank you so much, Raj, for being here. I really enjoyed this conversation. I always learn something new. And for our attendees today, just so you know, we have recorded this conversation. We're going to share it in a couple of places. It's going to be up on the MSBA blog. Hopefully you've had a chance to check out that blog. If that's news to you that we have a blog, make sure you take a look at it. We've got lots of great current student Q&As. We've got a couple of Q&As with our new staff members, Marcy and Pamela. And we'll be adding new stories all about the MSBA program, and maybe even a story about the New York City immersion that's coming up. So stay tuned. And as I mentioned at the outset, there are still opportunities to apply for this program. If you've looked at the website, you know that our last formal deadline was June 5th, but we will continue to accept applications on a rolling basis until the class fills. And if you're wondering, is it too late? It is definitely not too late. We have many current MSBA students who applied in June and July. So reach out, let us know how we can help. You can schedule a one-on-one conversation with our team, but we so appreciate you're taking some time out of your Friday afternoon. Raj, thank you again. It's been a lot of fun.
Thank you, Brett. It's always a pleasure. And it was great to meet everyone, albeit virtually. And I look forward to meeting you in person.
And that was my interview with Raj Venkatesan, a member of the marketing faculty here at the Darden School of Business and one of the co-academic leaders for the MS in Business Analytics program here at the University of Virginia. As always, if you have any comments, suggestions, requests, anything you'd like for us to cover here on the podcast, we're all ears. We can be reached at Darden, that's DARDEN, @virginia.edu. Until next time, stay safe, be well, and thanks for listening.